because people are cutting through rather than being on Fort Harrison. And it has also created gridlock, especially between Cleveland and about Druid Road, because there's not enough capacity for things to move through. But we added bike lanes, which are a good thing. The only issue is the Pinellas Trail is only 100 yards to the east of there, and now we've created some gridlock going out to the beach, coming off the beach, and going north-south on Fort Harrison. So I support the concept of complete streets and partnering with the county, which we are doing. But I also want to make certain that we try to foresee what all the unintended consequences are going to be and try to avoid them.
Well, I had the opportunity of serving on the Forward Pinellas Citizens Advisory Committee, and that's, some people would realize that used to be called the NPO. So I've gotten some of these updates. I talked a little bit about the intersection of Gulf Bay and Belcher. The Drew Street project, as I understand, has been turned back over to the FDOT, and they are the ones that are implementing it. They have their own completion schedules, and stuff gets completed according to what they come up with, rather than the priorities here. The Fort Harrison is under evaluation. I really think complete streets also applies to neighborhood streets. We talked a little bit about traffic counting and doing intelligent traffic counting. You look at Skycrest and the circles in that area, really have slowed traffic down in that area, and it's done right. Slowing traffic down, if it's going to take you another 3 minutes, probably isn't the problem. If it's going to take you a half hour, then that's, of course, is a problem. But we need to be sure we're doing the right thing. We had terrible history of this area of pedestrians being killed, particularly on Drew Street, down near our downtown area. And that is simply not acceptable to lose so many people. Some of those are wearing dark clothes and crossing in the middle of a block, which is kind of frustrating that somebody would think that that would be safe. But this is a work in progress, and I think we're going to learn a lot as we go through it.
Okay, Elizabeth, you're next. And we've had several questions from the audience about the city manager position that'll be open, so I'm going to try to condense this somewhat. What are your thoughts about the city manager position? How will you ensure proper management of that position? What will be your process for finding a new city manager, and discuss qualifications for that job? What do you feel are important qualifications for that job?
I think experience in municipal government is essential. Good communication skills, ability to work with employees, strong management, somebody who can get things done. All those things are important. Somebody who can motivate employees and keep the turnover rate down. Somebody who has an ear for community concerns and wants to keep the workforce diverse is important. As far as standards for performance, I know during the charter review discussions it was suggested to incorporate within the charter requirements that the city manager and I believe city attorney have performance standards that they are required to fulfill. I do not support making that part of the city charter. A charter is more like a constitution, and I don't think those very specific kinds of requirements belong there. But I do think in performance evaluations, performance reviews, there should be specific standards that a city manager is required to meet, and those should be part of this evaluation on an annual basis.
The city manager's job is very difficult. First of all, he's accountable, or her, whoever that new city manager is going to be, to the council and to the citizens, and also needs to keep all of the employees accountable. We have just completed a national search for a new CEO at Ruth Eckerd Hall, where I'm the chairman of the board. We did a search that had 76 candidates, literally from around the world. We narrowed it from 76 to 13 and 13 to 6. Clearwater is a very desirable job. So we need to be doing a national search. There will be cost to doing that. But I think we're going to get the best candidate pool by going nationwide. Certainly, we want somebody with vast experience, a track record, that we can see what they've accomplished in previous jobs, talking to their city council members and other stakeholders from wherever they come from. But having gone through this process, I think there's no other way than going through a national search, and we're also going to be doing that for a new city attorney. So it's a very pivotal time in Clearwater when you are losing two people that collectively have almost 50 years of experience within the city. We need to pick the right people because they will impact us for at least the next decade or maybe far further into the future.
Well, in my opening comments, I talked about the importance to create clear and consistent performance expectations of the city manager. And the city manager really cannot be faulted by the council majority's position, I wasn't on the majority, to not have performance expectations, guidelines, measurements of city manager objectives. If you don't do that, then how do you hold the city manager accountable? But it's partially also, how do you set priorities for the city manager? If you don't go through that, you don't set the priorities, so he gets mixed signals from all five of you. And this goes back to having written performance appraisals for the city manager. As far as the process for a new city manager, I was here when we went through the process when actually Bill Horn was hired. And we did a national search. The number 2 person was a lady from Gresham, Oregon. And it was an experienced city manager. We couldn't get 4 votes. It takes 4 votes to hire a city manager. And so then the next person down was Mr. Horn, and he did get 4 votes on that. I think it's important to utilize the services of the Florida League of Cities and a group called the Range Riders, who also assist, maybe even temporarily fill in for a city manager. We need a really competent city manager that is fully up to speed on the best practices. One of the things that the City Manager Association says is the city manager should use performance measurements and implement continuing improvement. That has never been done in the city of Clearwater. I think that's a big mistake.
I think this question should be city manager and the city attorney. This is 2 very vital roles in the city. The city manager maintains our day-to-day operations throughout the city. They make up the head guy that everyone has to look up to and that everyone has to answer to. So I do believe in hiring local. I say we get someone that knows our problems. They don't have to be just Clearwater. They can be local to Knox County, this side of the state, but they have to understand our people, how we got here, who we are. They have to understand about Clearwater and what vital role that we play in Tampa Bay. So I think they should be transparent, they should be accountable, held to high standards, and I think it should be local. It should be someone that we all agree upon, not just the city council. I think us as people, the employees, we all have to work with this person. It's usually a long-term job. So we have to find someone that's here for the long haul, not someone that's here to get in and out quickly and make a lot of money. We need to make the job a performance-rated job, so it's something where if they do good, we'll pay them more, and we'll keep them here. As far as the city attorney, yeah, we can look nationwide. We do need to get a great attorney. We need to make sure we protect our assets. So I think that's something we can go ahead and look farther and find the best attorney we can find. And then we got to talk them into a Clearwater budget. I know that's a harder thing because there's a lot bigger cities with a lot bigger budgets. But we need to get the best bang for our buck, and we need to all be a part of that. That will affect the next 20 years of our life in Clearwater.
Okay, Frank, I believe you're next. What are the successes and failures of Clearwater's Green Print Initiative, and what expectations will you put in place to measure its successful future progress?
Well, the green print, if you're not familiar, is a process that we went through while I was mayor in 2010, and it was to improve our environmental effects within the city. It was also to save money. All of you lived through the Great Recession. I was your mayor during that time, and we had to make a lot of very difficult decisions in the city. You had to, and we did it also together. So what we were trying to do was find ways to improve our environment, not have as large a carbon footprint, but also to have a positive economic impact on the city. So we looked at all of our buildings to make them more efficient, be that through the HVAC, through lighting, through windows, through films on windows. We converted our entire fleet of sanitation trucks over to compressed natural gas from diesel. We built the first compressed natural gas station, which is on Hercules, which isn't only open to city vehicles, but also to individuals that want to buy a compressed natural gas automobile, which are about 90% cleaner than a normal combustion engine. Now, some people still hate natural gas, so I'll just make that clear. I know some of the people in the audience are shaking. But we need to continue to find ways to economize. Technology, even since 2010, has changed dramatically. Solar back then was not as efficient as it is today. As we build buildings, we make sure they are LEED certified, which means they are more efficient. And I think that's something that we need to continue to do throughout the city to make all of our buildings better, more efficient, less costly to you, the citizens.
The Green Print program, one of the things that it suffers from is low visibility. It was created and it came out in 2011, but really didn't get much attention at the council. Staff never brought forward updates. I got a update yesterday on it, and there's really a lot of things that have been done internally within the city. But a big part of Green Print was to reach out to the community and do community education. I think that was probably the missed biggest opportunity of Green Print. It was also not included in our strategic plan. So whenever the strategic plan was updated, there wasn't an opportunity to look at that. I think one of our city values should be sustainability, and that is at the top level. Then we go down included in our strategic plan objectives, and then you start by saying, okay, now what are we going to emphasize this time? The city finally brought in a sustainability coordinator. Otherwise, the work was done kind of as a catch can by the planning department, and they probably did a pretty good job with the limited resources that were available to them. But if it had more visibility, I think the council might have put more resources there initially. Thank you.
The Green Print Initiative. We have a long road. This program did start in 2011. I think it was originally written as a 25-year plan. So we've wasted this much time so far, we haven't gotten that far. Sustainability is the focus. I'm an Eagle Scout, and in Boy Scouts, you leave things better than you found it. And I think we've not left Clearwater better than we found it. So I think one of the most important things that's overlooked every day is the air we breathe, the quality of the air we breathe. You know, something as simple as starting a 1 million tree campaign to plant 1 million trees in Clearwater. And they say we do it by 2025. And some people might think this is impossible. It's not. Think about it. There's over 100,000 people in Clearwater. I could plant 10 trees over the next 5 years. I'm sure everyone here could. So I think it's something that we need to focus on. Putting more trees in. They can be trees on the water. They can be down there to help with sea level rising. They can help our soil. They can help clean the water. So that's the first part. Then we need to look at some of the things that were ongoing. Our recycling program. It's not a moneymaker anymore, but it's not about money. It's about renewing our resources. We need to look at ways we can be more efficient. Our city buildings, a lot of them are outdated, and that's one of the things, City Hall. But hey, if we build a new one, we can make sure it's efficient, or we can figure out how to make the old one efficient. We did hire a sustainability coordinator, finally. I think that was last year. It was 2011 we started this. So we have a lot to do. We have a lot more to get done. We need to be faster on this. We need to make this a program that implements for real at the end of that 25 years. We need to make sure that our water is better, our air is better, our ground is better, Clearwater is healthier, our people are healthier, and we can be the #1 place to raise a family.
Greenprint is almost a decade old. Nothing much has been done that's outside of changing some light bulbs and finally, after years, hiring a sustainability coordinator. Whatever gains were made were undercut by continuing beach development, which imposes so much environmental harm. By expanding fossil fuels. We have Clearwater gas. We are still expanding gas lines. Natural gas is a more potent greenhouse gas than carbon. It heats up the atmosphere faster. We need to get away from natural gas. We need to move to solar in all solar buildings. We need to be putting tax incentives in place for companies to move to solar, to reduce their waste, to reduce their toxics, to reduce their plastic, tax incentives. We need to, something that wasn't addressed at all in Greenprint, we need to do a pesticide inventory so we know what we're spraying on our parks and the places our kids play. When I interviewed city officials, they did not know. And the idea that because something is on the market, it's safe is completely wrong. Pesticides are linked to cancer, neurological problems, respiratory problems, and we need to see what's absolutely necessary and get rid of the rest. We need to be planting more trees, be planting more native plants. When I was on the Environmental Advisory Board, I proposed a tree planting program. I proposed putting up my own money to match what the city would raise. No one was interested in that. That was a huge missed opportunity. And we need to be moving away from natural gas to an all-electric fleet that's available now. It's economically feasible. We shouldn't be updating Greenprint, spending more time with planning. We should just move. We know what we have to do, and we should do it.
Okay, Bill, you're up next, and this one is from the audience. How can the city, excuse me, address affordable housing?
Well, affordable housing is a question of finances, and it's a question of zoning and opportunities there. The biggest funder of affordable housing in the state of Florida is the Sadowski Trust Fund at the state level, and the legislature keeps stealing money from that and putting it in different coffers, and so we're being shortchanged there. There are a variety of federal funds that also come to us. There's some of the mixed-use housing. One is the Trails, which is a new townhome development down in South Greenwood area. along the trail. But some of the more creative things that can be done are to look at our zoning codes. One of some of the other cities, Minneapolis, has taken their central city and they have made it no longer a single-family central city. They've allowed granny flats in the back, they've allowed garage flats, and that would be an opportunity to respond if the community asked for that. If the neighborhood asked for that, I think we could do that, we could allow that. Another thing is I'd like to look at our minimum size housing unit requirements that are in our development code. People aren't asking for the same size units in rental apartments. And I think we could reduce some of that, and that would make an apartment less expensive.
Affordable housing in Clearwater. We have the programs for affordable housing, but realistically, how affordable is living in Clearwater? Clearwater is an expensive place to live. I know. I graduated here, and a lot of kids I went to school with, they couldn't afford to be here. So we need to focus on businesses and make our community stronger so we can pay people better so they can afford to live. Right now, currently, a new hire firefighter in Clearwater, he can't afford to buy a house in Clearwater. So it's a catch-22. We can give better options for housing, but we need to make Clearwater stronger. We have a big homeless problem in Clearwater. I know we're all familiar with it. It's Coachman Park. That's where the majority is right now, I feel. But there's other areas. We could look at the code and the zoning and do smaller houses. There's so many options for tiny homes and container homes, and we see it springing up all over the other side of the country. We could bring that initiative here. We can bring it so we can put people in a shelter. They can have a place to live. They can get back on their feet. They can get back to work, and they can become a successful part of our community. So affordable housing, there's so many things we can look at. What we need to do is we need to start doing it. We need to get on the ball and start making it happen.
It is certainly costly to have people on the streets. The medical problems they develop end them up in emergency rooms, and that ends up costing the taxpayers in the end. So trying to house people who do not have housing is good for everyone in the long run. As far as affordable housing, Clearwater has made strides. There are several projects underway that have been completed. Some additional things we could do are establishing our own affordable housing trust funds. That's something that's been successful in other cities. Designating portions of multi-unit housing, so a percentage is for workforce or affordable housing, has also been successful in other places. That's something we could try. Giving tax breaks to employers to assist employees with housing costs is another potential solution. So this is a national problem. This isn't specific to Clearwater, but it's something we have to address, and we need to look at what's worked elsewhere and try those things. And again, to say the state is not doing something and is not giving us the money we deserve, our city officials need to be up there holding the state's feet to the fire and not just accept what we've been meted out.
So it's a multifaceted issue like anything. There is no silver bullet, otherwise we would have shot it already. As I said, I'm on the board of HEP. We're trying to do a multi-family transitional housing project right now with the school system. I don't know if it's going to work out because there's some other issues there. I was in Publix on Sunday, and the cashier that I often go to said, "I really want to talk to you sometime." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, I've been homeless now for 12 months. And I said, "Well, where are you sleeping at night?" And she said, "Well, I was down at Pinellas Hope, but I got robbed. And I'm sleeping on my ex-boyfriend's couch for the time being." But that's the problem that many of you may not know about. We may all be fortunate enough that we're going to go back to our comfortable homes tonight. But the affordable housing is a real issue. So zoning is a big deal. We require fairly large lots in this city. we have opportunities to reduce the size of those lots because people don't want the same size dwellings. The McMansions are no longer being built the way they used to be. The other thing is the city actually has a lot of properties that could be converted for affordable housing and given up to the proper developers. We have a new senior affordable housing building going up right now on MLK. It's almost complete, but it doesn't scratch the surface of what we need. The other thing we need, though, is we need higher paying jobs. And that goes back to education and having people have higher wages so that they can afford the housing in this area. And that's what I mean by it's a multifaceted issue, that you can't just attack it from one direction. You have to attack it from many.
Okay, Morton, you're up next. And the question is, how many neighborhood parks have you visited in Clearwater, and what is the overall condition of those parks?
Okay, I've been here my whole life, all 40 years, and I've been to probably every park in Clearwater except for, and I had to look it up, there's a shuffleboard park down on Myrtle. I have not been to the shuffleboard park, but I've probably been to every other park here. And the condition? Has anyone else been to these parks? It's not always a place I'm going to take my family. When I have a birthday for my kids, I usually rent a shelter. There's usually a bathroom, stuff that our parks don't have. We have some great parks. We have some big parks. They're not well kept because we don't have them bringing in any type of income. And income can be something as simple as a shelter, so it pays for someone to empty the trash cans and lock the doors at night on the bathrooms. I grew up next to Wood Valley, or I grew up in Wood Valley, and we have Cliff Stevens Park. It's an enormous park. And the most it ever had for a bathroom was some porta potties. And I remember, I think it was the late 80s, someone burned them down, and it didn't get any more. So when we're looking at things we can do for our parks, we need to make them more family friendly. I mean, I rent for birthday parties down in Largo, in Ellis County Parks. I rent from Dunedin. There's so much more we can do to make these parks useful. And we can utilize them for our families, and we can utilize them for more events. We don't have a Central Park. And we're looking at spending a ton of money on Coachman Park, but we're not looking at making a park where we can have family gatherings, we can have Christmas celebrations. We can do a lot more with our parks. And we have so many of them, and they have so much potential. They could use more trees, too. A whole lot of our parks have been stripped bare of trees. Right down the road here, they cut down Crest Lake Park, they cut down a lot of trees. And I know in the new plan, they're going to put some trees back, but that does affect the parks. Our parks should be covered in trees. They should be old floors. They should represent and be nostalgic for all of us. So I hope we can make our parks greener, nicer, and more friendly for all of us.
I've been to maybe a dozen of our parks. It goes without saying that they are not all funded the same and are not all kept up the same. I think there's an overemphasis on hardscape. What kind of tennis and pools and paved facilities do we have? I think we're overlooking the value of green, of habitat, of birds who nest in the trees that give great pleasure and joy to children or provide educational opportunities. That's something that's underemphasized throughout our city, and we should be focused on that. Again, the pesticide issue, we need to reduce to the maximum extent what we're spraying on our parks, because that ends up in us and is not good for us. So I would upgrade I would make sure there were equal resources allocated to all the parks throughout the city, and I would make the maximum effort to increase green space, habitat, native habitat, not some imported palm trees. Green space that serves as habitat for wildlife and provides all the environmental benefits that native vegetation provides.
Over the years, I've probably been to every park in the city of Clearwater. You have to understand, sometimes I feel like the meanie up here because I have to inject some reality in how things run and how things can sometimes cost. So we have regional parks. Most of those have restrooms because people literally are coming from all over city to go to those parks. And then we have neighborhood parks that are supposedly close to your home where you could run home with your kids and yourself and go back for restrooms. A lot of the parks still need help, but understand a couple things about maintaining parks. Restrooms are extremely expensive, and a lot of times you get behavior in those restrooms that the neighborhood that surrounds those parks doesn't necessarily want. I'll let your imagination run wild. Just ask some of the officers that you know within the city, and they'll tell you about some of the behavior that occurs in the parks. So it goes back to visioning and a strategic plan, because we can do, again, as much as you want in parks, or as little. It's great to have native plants and certain types of trees, but also understand the maintenance of all that is pretty significant. All of you probably have trees in your yards. You have to pay to have those trimmed periodically, right? There's dying branches. We can't have branches falling on kids and people and animals, and your pets. So all of it comes with a cost. And I just want to add that injection of reality. And, so some of the people who have not been through this will learn that there is a cost to everything that we do, and you have to be smart about the way you do it.
The question was, have I visited all the parks? Well, I looked at My Clearwater magazine, and it listed 28 parks in that magazine. And I went down the list and said, yep, I've been to all of those. And then I went to the website, and the website listed 116 park facilities throughout the city. And I must say, I haven't been to every one of those. But we have some very fine parks and different kinds of park experiences. Moccasin Lake is a neat natural park. I've been trying to get the city to expand it. There's 3 acres of property adjacent to it that could be acquired to expand that park. Cooper's Point is an undeveloped park near the new medical college. Magnolia Falls is a park that's up next to the northeast sewer treatment plant. State Street Park is one that I did a cleanup in. It's off of Betty Lane. A couple of park benches and a picnic table or two, but it doesn't even have an identity as a city park. So we have a great mix of passive and active parks. One of the things that I would like to do is I'd like to go back to the process of having more neighborhood parks with playground equipment. We took the playground equipment out of the park